Hello, everyone, and welcome to the GameSpace Game Show. I am your host this week, and almost every week, so it's really, if you're surprised at this point that I'm your host, shame on you, and we have some wonderful co-hosts for you this evening, but before I get to the co-hosts, I'd like to say that our show tonight is about superheroes. I know that it might be tough to understand that because pretty much if you're a fan of the show, you know that a lot of our episodes are about superheroes. But
they tend to go in that direction, don't they?
They do. Well, I try and throw something superhero-ish in every show, and I'm always sporting my gear. But we have Dame. Dame, welcome back to the show.
Hey.
You know, I really like what you got going on in the background there.
I do too. Now that Kingdom Hearts has an official release date, I am officially excited about it now.
Officially excited.
Officially.
It wasn't official before, but now it's official.
No, it was a little bit more of like contractual obligation to be excited about it. Now I'm officially excited about it.
That's good to know. And we also have Scott here, who is what would we consider? Are you like the resident comic book guy? I think.
I guess so. Yeah.
Lore master.
Seems like that's what it is. Yes.
The comic book guru. I mean, you know everything. I mean, your collection is vast.
Yeah, I think I have about 14,000 comics.
Wow.
Only 14,000?
Yeah.
Come on, you're slacking a little bit. But you know what I do like? I like that Psylocke shirt that you've got going on there. Is that?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yep.
That was like one of my favorite characters whenever I was younger. I used to play because Psylocke was on the old X-Men Children of the Atom game. Right. And I loved, and they brought her back for Marvel vs. Capcom 2, I think, or maybe it was 3.
I thought she was in 1.
Was she in? I don't think she was in 1. No,
okay. Yeah, 2 is probably where she was.
I think it was probably 2.
Yeah, I owned that one, and so I remember her being in that. Great game.
I never got to either one of those actually.
Really?
I think she was in the Sega Genesis one, I believe.
The Sega Genesis one, the one with I can't remember what that one was called off the top of my head. I remember that. It was a side scroller, and I believe in that one you could play as Wolverine. He would climb up the walls with his claws.
Or Gambit. You can play as Gambit too.
Yeah, that one was really cool too. I do remember playing that game. I just can't think off the top of my head what that was. But
I
played
played Marvel vs. Capcom in the arcades.
Oh yeah,
and so that was I have so many great memories of that game, of my buddies and I rolling up on there, and one friend in particular. I think I shared the story on the GameSpace Game Show before about my buddy that like completely feigned ignorance, and there's this dude running his mouth about how great he was at the game, and my buddy John just handed this guy's rear to him, like made him spend probably upwards in the ballpark of like $15 in quarters trying to save face. And
I used to love that.
It was fantastic.
I used to love those days. I really did. But we're not talking about the old games this week. We're actually talking about a lot of the new games that are coming out. We're not just talking about the Marvel games. We're talking about the DC games as well. And there's only so much that I can say to a lot of the DC games because I haven't played too many of them. DC Universe was one that I played pretty often whenever it first came out on PC, and then whenever I know that the PlayStation 3 version was around for a little bit, and I think they're discontinuing that. Isn't it like impending? Is it this month that they're doing it, or is it next month? When is it?
I don't know what the actual time is, but it was announced, and it's, I guess, whatever, depreciated or whatever.
So basically, if you have a PlayStation 3, you're out of luck, guys. Yeah. But PlayStation 4 is still going pretty strong.
Yep. And that's where I play it at currently. I play both on PC and PS4, but PS4 I kind of like it a bit more with the PS4 controller, which, yes, I know you can hook it up to a PC, but it just seems smoother.
I'll tell you what, I was amazed at the controller support for that game. Because I actually started playing DCUO on PS3. And at first, the idea of playing an MMO on a console was just I couldn't. It didn't compute. But after playing DCUO, I'm going, okay, I understand this. I get this. This works.
And it did. It really did work. But for me, it didn't work on the PS3. I felt like it was a little too laggy. I tried it at launch, and maybe that was what the problem was. And then I played it on the PC, and I used an Xbox controller because you really can't play that with a mouse and keyboard. I don't know how people do that. That's insanity to me.
No, that's what was the problem I was having. The mouse, it was getting to be too clicky, and all I was doing was my index finger was just going crazy.
And then once it fell off, you knew for sure that you needed to switch the controller.
Time to try a different solution.
But they did a really good job, and I still feel like the combat in general, I've gone back a few times, and I really like it. The problem is I don't feel like they've kept up with the new player experience as much. Like coming back to it, I always want to create a new character and see what's new, and DC Universe just doesn't cut it for me. It's like I'm playing through the same content I've already played, and I think now you can pretty much skip all that. Isn't there like a way to skip all the way to max level?
They were giving out coins at one point, but I don't know if you can get those anymore. I don't know if you can buy you might be able to buy that in the
I think if you do the subscription, I think they give you a choice, like, hey, do you want to just go straight to max level? And I haven't done that.
Yeah, but still, you got the combat rating, you got the gear grind that has to get you to the next levels.
That's what stopped me from going further. I hate that. I hate that in every game, but in DCUO, it especially made me unhappy. But now last time I played, they allowed you to get in as a legend and play through like the top end content, like the raids and stuff, as like a legend character where you didn't need gear score. Is that still a thing, or is that not really a thing?
I haven't played much of the legends. I kind of play just for the story, but of course to get through the story, you have to get your combat rating up, which is a grind. So
you don't do any of the raids or anything?
No, I haven't.
Well, I can understand that because they were a pain, but I really like the Legends arenas. Dame, did you ever get into those whenever you played?
I never did. I never got very far into the game. I think I got a couple of levels in, and I was, in the same boat as you were with, okay, I want to try to figure out how I enjoy playing this game,
right? And
rolled a bunch of different new characters, but found myself in the same situation where, okay, I'm on Brainiac's ship again.
It kind of gets old.
The legend things had some bad connotations because there was a lot of cheating in the early days.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, and it was all the animation canceling, which I was also doing quite often. So I can't blame people for doing what I'm doing, can I? But I was really good at it, and I still am probably not too bad. I was very good with the combat system. One of my favorite things about that game was the combat. But again, we're not really here to talk about those games, but we are talking about them a little bit because you mentioned. I guess we can cover that real quick before we get into like the Lego DC villains and the Spider-Man and all that, which we do have videos for those of you on the podcast. If you haven't seen these yet and you're really interested in seeing the new stuff and what happened in E3, if you weren't a part of that, definitely check out this stream. We're going to have a lot of that on there. But for DCUO, you were talking about they have some interesting stuff coming up. They had the Death of Superman and some Teen Titans content.
They had a two-part event of the Death of Superman, which was a late 80s story that was real popular with Doomsday, of course, killing off Superman.
Was it late 80s or was it early 90s? I can't remember. I remember reading the book.
90.
I think it's got to be 90s because I read the book and I don't think I knew how to read much in the 80s. I was old enough to read. I just...
It was one of those where I bought 5 copies, and now they're not worth more than 50 cents a piece right now.
Really?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Because comic book stores were so popular, and they were a dime a dozen, that there was just extra surplus, books all over the place.
Well, I gotta know, since you might know the answer to this, whatever happened to Wizard? Like that was Wizard. Do you remember like the Wizard books that told you like how much like comics were worth and all that back in the day?
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened to their publication because they do sponsor like the Comic-Con here in Chicago. It's called Wizard World actually.
Oh man.
But that whole format of that magazine they put out, I think that stopped a long time ago.
Yeah, it was definitely a long time ago, and I hate them for it because it was an awesome. It was really cool because they had really cool editorials about like which hero could be who and all these kind of crazy things that I fell in love with as a kid. It was some of the best stuff that I really got into.
And then after they announced also for the summer that they're going to add Teen Titans. They're gonna do a take on the Judas Contract, which was Deathstroke's son was Jericho, and
right.
There was some betrayal from, I think her name was, I don't remember what the girl's name was. She basically got the rock powers, Geo or whatever her name was. But
oh yeah, she's on the Teen Titans crew, blonde chick. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. But her name also escapes me.
They're also supposed to roll in some of the newer Titans from the Rebirth, so that'll be interesting to see which characters they bring in.
Dame, what?
Like, you know,
did you
they
really,
might bring in,
did you ever
they
get
might
into
bring in
Titans?
Damien.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Were you a big Teen Titans fan, Dame? Ever?
You know, I watched some of the cartoons, but that was pretty much the extent of it.
You know, I like the older cartoons. I don't like the Teen Titans Go thing.
No. The movie looks like it's going to be hilarious.
Yeah, well, and I hope it is. I hope they do a good Teen Titans movie, but the cartoons have kind of strayed a little bit into the more comic-y type, jokey stuff. So I'm a big fan because I think that the DC animated films are fantastic.
Yep. Oh, absolutely.
Pretty much every single one of them is really good, and you can see a lot of them on Hulu right now. And Dame, that's good for you because you don't need a sub to Hulu to watch some of these. You just have to sit through some ads. But I would say check those out because they've got a whole bunch of the DC Comics movies on Hulu going on right now.
And the One Titan series is coming back, and it's going to be on the DC network when it premieres. So.
Oh, really?
Yes. Huh. What was the one that we know with Nightwing in it and Aqualad? He was the African American Aqualad, I want to say. And
oh, you're talking about like the Young Justice stuff?
Yeah, Young Justice. That's okay. That's coming back.
Oh man, that's a good one.
It's going to be on the DC network.
Yeah. Well, we're getting a little out of sorts going into some shows and everything, but let's go ahead and pop in. I mean, that's a good segue to the Lego DC Villains. And we've got some streams and some shows to show because they were at E3. And I really liked what they showed for the Lego DC Villains trailer because one of the things that I really enjoyed more than anything else is that it has a character creator now.
Yeah.
And there's nothing I like more than making my own superheroes, or in this case, a supervillain. Did you guys get to see that, and what did you think of it?
I've always loved the Lego games. I think that they do a great job of portraying the universe that they're representing. But doing it in a way that you can only do with Lego minifigures.
Yeah, I do love that. But Scott, I mean, what did you think about it? I mean, is this something that you're really looking forward to? Since you can create, I mean, if you're like me and you like to create your own character, I mean, is it something that you're looking forward to, or are you not really a fan of it because it's a Lego game?
No, I have the Lego games. I haven't gotten through half of them, but yeah, I'm looking forward to playing the villains, and the fact that there's a character creator, I love that option.
Now, unfortunately, from what I hear, you can create your own character, but you can't play with another person who's created their own character as well. So,
oh no!
I know, isn't that awful? Like, you can't like mix and match team-ups with your powers. Instead, they kind of have to pick a DC character that's already there. So... and that's kind of how the Lego games went before. Like, if you play as Iron Man, you can play as one of the other characters you already have unlocked of the Avengers, if you're playing the Avengers game, or something like that. And hello out there to everyone in Twitch world and YouTube. But, so, I mean, does that change your mind about anything? Because for me, it kind of it dampens my feelings towards the game a little bit, because I want to play with someone who can also make their own character, so we could be special. Because if you see in this video, they do have a character creator, and you can make like all sorts of cool stuff. So, I mean, does that change your perception at all?
I don't think so. No, it's still with the character creation. It's still one step above, what they got with the Lego superheroes. So,
yeah. Did you get to watch the trailer originally at E3, Dame?
No, I didn't.
Oh, well, then you're seeing it here for the first time. So
I am, yeah.
So basically, what's going on in this trailer? Because I watched this several times over. The premise is that all the heroes kind of disappear, and people apparently the world is being taken over, and people are looking to the villains to kind of play in as the heroes. So you're going to have a lot of villains playing heroes in this game, or anti-heroes for that matter. But in this video, you can see that they're doing a lot of character customization. You can change your face around and wear masks and everything. And I think the hero that they actually come up with is pretty safe, to say the least. Yeah. But I mean, as you progress, it's kind of like an RPG. You increase in power and you increase in level, or maybe not level necessarily, but you can customize your character as you go. So it looks really cool, and I kind of like the premise. But I mean, what do you think? Is it kind of a similar? We've kind of seen that a lot lately, right, Scott? I mean, in the comics, that we've seen a lot of villains kind of going more relatable anti-hero, I guess.
Right. Yep. I mean, it's a cool concept. It kind of looks like there from the video. You can also collect costume pieces.
Oh yeah, yeah, you definitely can. So, but the gameplay is going to be pretty much similar to what you'd expect from a Lego game,
right?
So that's not really going to change much, but it's really cool. All the different things that you can do and all the different pieces that you can get. I kind of hope that they go back, because I'm obviously, by my hat you can see that I'm more of a Marvel fan. So,
yep.
And hi, Kiwi has joined us. Everyone praise Kiwi. So I really hope that they come out with something like this for the Marvel world as well, which I mean,
Marvel villains, you're thinking?
Well, maybe not Marvel villains specifically, but maybe more along the lines of a Marvel game where you can create your own character and play in the Marvel universe, because that would be, that's kind of my thing.
Right.
But without being too similar to what DC Villains has really come out with. And I wonder how many people are going to make heroes like DC heroes out of the DC Villains. Like if you have all the tools to make a cape and a blue suit and everything, I mean, you're going to see a Superman at least once or twice, right?
Yes, ironically, in a DCUO, I have like a atomic fire woman, red hair, green and yellow outfit, and with a bird on her chest. So I call her, it's like a Jean Grey Phoenix copy.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So.
Nice. Yeah, I could definitely see that happening, whether it's creating a Marvel character within DC Villains or creating one of the DC heroes within the character creation. But I mean, with any Lego game, you kind of come to expect some pretty similar things. So it'll be very interesting to see how they tell the story that they're telling, and how they play with the environment of of DC, the DC story, the Lego universe, and all that stuff. So right now, just watching the video, it looks like just about any other Lego game that I've played.
Well,
which isn't a bad thing.
It's not.
I mean, it's fun.
Well, you know what's interesting that you mentioned, well, we all kind of mentioned, is they're talking about making characters that we've all seen before. You know, characters that might resemble Wolverine, or they might resemble, Spider-Man or something like that in other games. And I'm going off kind of on a little tangent here, because in Europe, the Parliament has kind of put a controversy on creating copyrights of stuff that you'll see in other games. Like one of those happened to be like seeing Star Wars characters in something like Minecraft or something like that, and those kind of situations. Now, I don't think it's necessarily talking about hitting something like this, but I wonder if we're ever going to really see that. Like, I know that we kind of did see that in City of Heroes. Do you remember that? Like way back in the day, where people were like using the Marvel names or similar Marvel names, and they were creating the characters to look like them, and NCSoft just wasn't having it. Like they wouldn't allow that. So I mean, do you think that that's ever going to become a problem in games like this where it has a character creator?
I think you're always going to run into that.
Yeah,
I think you're always going to run into. I mean, why do we love superheroes? Because there were heroes that kind of inspired us to dig into their stories and get to know more about them. So, video games being kind of the ultimate, power fantasy or whatever, where you can kind of step in and become the character. I don't think it's going away. I would find it very difficult to figure out how to enforce something like that in a game that like this, which I assume you would play offline.
Right. Well, not necessarily you're playing offline because you are doing multiplayer, and you will have other. I mean, you're going to be playing as the iconic characters through multiplayer, but if you're inviting, like, Dame, if I'm inviting you to my game, and you're playing as Lex Luthor, like you would be in this situation, and I'm playing as my personal character who just happens to look a lot like the Hulk, I'm not saying that you're going to tell on me, but it might be a situation where a company like DC says, hey, we don't like Hulk in our games or something, and the penalty is death, and they try and destroy me. I mean, it could be some. I'm not saying that the penalty will be death, but there may be a penalty where they're trying to limit
Solomon Grundy, and you'll be good.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
Right.
I mean,
there you go, a White Hulk right there.
White Hulk. Well, so I don't know if that's ever going to really become an issue, but I really like the aesthetic of the Lego games. I think it's really cool, and I like that it's so lighthearted. You know, they always kind of have like a lighthearted tone to the superhero things, because as we've taken note of, and something that you were mentioning earlier, Scott, that there are a lot of situations where they're doing more darker themes in comics, and especially in the new comics that DC happens to have greenlighted recently, right?
Right. I mean, they just announced a couple weeks ago about doing what's called a Black Label. Mm-hmm. It's like a line of comics that's geared to new artists and new writers, but they can go darker, and they can write about Batman, Superman, and they don't have to worry about continuity. Like, I think the first issue they announced is Batman, and he's in a world where the Joker has died, and he's got to find out who killed the Joker.
Which is kind of an interesting story. I could kind of dig something like that. But the thing is that it's not really part of the continuity, so...
Right.
In the grand scheme of things, does it even matter?
Well, you're asking, did Injustice and Injustice 2 matter?
Well, that's a very good question. This is a very, very good question.
I never really thought about that in the grand scheme of continuity, though, because I always just thought, multiverse type stuff, it kind of counts as continuity, but not the real, in kind of like the back burner multiverse continuity kind of a thing, Right. So I don't know if that really counts, but they did say that wasn't part of the continuity, like the Injustice games.
Yeah, it's not part of continuity. It's a multi-universe or multiverse, whatever. Yeah.
Kiwi asks on the stream, what's the scrolling text on the screen? Who's generating it? That is generated by, GameSpace headlines mostly, but you can thank Dame, our wonderful scrolling texter this week, for putting together those headlines for us. If anybody wants to know more about the headlines that are scrolling on the bottom of the screen, head on over to GameSpace.com, because that's where they all originate from. For the most part, did you take anything from MMO this week, Dame?
I did, yes.
Okay, so you got two sites to visit. Which ones came from MMO?
So there was news about PvP in World of Warcraft. Some of the stuff and things that are coming on down the pike for rewards for Battle for Azeroth. So we got that in there, and I'm trying to think what else. I don't even remember all the headlines that I threw in there. So that was one of the one of the major ones that came from there.
Well, we're not going to let Kiwi divert us from our topics too much, but I mean there is a lot to talk about just in the news stories scrolling across the bottom of our screen, because a lot happened this week, and there's also stuff that happened that we can't really get into on this show, which we're gonna have to push for the next show. Like I was talking about the proposed EU copyright directive, which I mean that in itself is kind of a big deal, because we just kind of got done with the whole thing in the US with net neutrality and all this kind of stuff. So I mean that's an entirely different show. But this show is all superheroes, which you know, this is kind of a long gameplay session, and in this situation I don't think that we're actually seeing a lot of the custom character being played so much, which you can kind of see them switching between like the custom character and all the other characters that kind of appear on the screen. and Kiwi on our stream says that she's disappointed that no one is wearing a cape, and really that was Scott's job. He was gonna cosplay this week.
They don't make him long enough for a 6'6" guy.
you know, I'm also gonna throw this out there because this is kind of a big deal, and it's kind of going out to Dame too. Did you guys see The Incredibles 2 yet?
Yes,
you did see it. I have not seen it yet. I'm gonna go see it this Sunday. But what did you think overall? Quick yay or nay, was it good? What do you think?
It was what you'd expect from an Incredibles movie.
Okay.
Some of the story is a little bit telegraphed, but after, what was it, how many years between, is it 12 years, I believe, between the release of the last,
really?
It's either 12 or 14 years, something like that.
Man.
It's after that amount of time, getting all of the original voice actors back together to play the main cast. It was a little bit of a nostalgia trip, but it was fun.
Wait, they have the full original cast?
I mean, of the characters that are in the movie, yes.
The Incredibles, because yes. I remember the main Mr. Incredible, that's Craig T. Nelson, I think, right?
Nelson,
and he was old back then, man. 12 years ago, he was already pretty old, and so, geez, for him to come back for that's insanity. But so you would say it's a good movie?
It's worth seeing. It's worth seeing. Yep.
If for superhero fans.
What about the Incredibles 2 Lego game?
Ooh,
that's something that we didn't even really talk about. You know,
we did not. I don't know what to think about that.
Well, did it release already? Is it out currently?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay. Well, who's going to review it? Because that's important to me. I don't know who's on the docket for that one, but I imagine it's going to be pretty good. But usually in those situations, it follows the storyline pretty closely of what's going on in the movies. It might also follow some of the storyline in from the first Incredibles too, because they like doing that. Like, they like bridging through. Now the real question is will the Incredibles show up in Kingdom Hearts 3?
Ooh, I'm not sure we know that yet.
I don't think I've seen anything.
I'm wanting to say that I have, but I cannot confirm that.
Nor deny it. But I did see Wreck-It Ralph in there, and I'm really jazzed about that.
Yes.
I didn't see any Marvel characters in there. But do you want to know where I did see Marvel characters?
At the Disney park.
I did see them there, but I did see them at one Disney park. But I also saw them in the Spider-Man stream. What?
Yeah.
From E3 last week. Last week? Was it last week? It was the week before.
It was last week.
It was last week. I can't remember because I was on vacation last week. So I apologize, everybody, even though I did a show about E3 last week.
You've slept since then.
I've slept at least once. But did you guys check out that E3 stream for Spider-Man? What did you guys think?
Oh, it looks so good. It looks so stinking good.
I counted a million ways I'm going to die before I even get to the end of the level.
Right?
They definitely did a good job about making Spider-Man appear powerful from the get-go. Like,
yes.
That's what I really like. Even though that you're still going to be able to level up and everything, because the deluxe version comes with like 5 extra skill points, I think, for you to start out with, so you can kind of spec into that character a little bit. But you just from watching this, and I know that this was kind of like the trailer, so maybe they're kind of using a souped up Spider-Man for it. I'm not really sure. But just looking at the way that it plays, you just come out of the gate as an amazing Spider-Man, you know?
I really love the redesign of the villains too.
Yeah.
I think having that fresh take on costuming and character design is so good. I mean, even with Spider-Man's own suit, having a unique design for the game is just I think it's a nice touch. It lends something really fresh to something that's really familiar, without it being without fully knowing what to expect.
Right.
In what they're presenting. What I wonder is, will they do something where at a point in the game you can customize the suit?
Right.
Because I always love seeing stuff like that where you can get different iterations of costumes to be able to play as those iterations.
Yeah.
They will have different costumes now. Whether or not you can make them, I don't know, but you'll be able to collect them.
Oh, nice.
Well, I mean,
you can move powers. You can move powers from one costume to another. So if you want to wear the black and black costume,
yes,
and you've got powers on this red and white one, you can actually move the powers over to your black one. Is what I got out of the Insomniac chat.
Oh, that's so good.
Really glad that you paid attention to that, because there was so much information. I didn't get to watch every single stream, but I mean, the back in black costume is the one that I've really been waiting for.
Now, I use that as an example. Now, is the back in black costume in game? I don't know. I don't have evidence.
It's gotta be. It's gotta be in game, or else I'm gonna be so disappointed.
Scott said it. It must be true.
What's also nice is Insomniac's been pretty strong about saying this is not an origin story. So we get to play Peter Parker in his college years. Mary Jane is at the Daily Bugle, I believe.
Yeah,
so.
Which is kind of interesting, because I don't recall that being as kind of part of her entire story, but maybe that's maybe in the comics that is something that happens later on. But
well, Insomniac did say that Marvel gave them the opportunity for Insomniac to create their own little mini Marvel universe, if you will. So there's probably liberties here that they took that they were allowed to.
So that's not really like something that happens in the comics then for Mary Jane
no, but I think it happened in the other universe, the Ultimate Spider-Man universe. That Mary Jane was a reporter.
Oh yeah. So about this particular suit, this isn't the Iron Spider suit, right?
No, this is a new suit that Insomniac created.
Okay, so this is like a brand new suit. You've never seen this before in a comic before.
Yes, and what also is cool is they allowed their artists to do variant covers for some of the upcoming Spider-Man comics with this suit on there.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Released. So you're going to actually see these in comics?
I don't know if they'll be in the actual story, but they'll be on the variant covers. Okay. You know, we like to have 10 covers for the same issue, so that everyone buys 10 copies.
But the comics that are coming out aren't going to necessarily be set in this Insomniac universe, right?
Right.
Okay,
it was just the covers, I believe.
So we're not actually going to see any Insomniac related.
Who knows? Maybe eventually we will. I don't see why that wouldn't happen.
So they basically redesigned several of the characters, because this is Electro that we're looking at right now.
Right. Yes. So no Star Helmet or Jamie Foxx Electro.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, thank goodness for the Jamie Foxx
Thanks
one.
Thanks for that vision, Dane.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
So this is a pretty cool. I kind of like the way that this one looks.
Yeah, and here I'm going to die a whole bunch of times in this running up this tube thing side to side. I know it's going to be
absolutely
a nightmare for me. My reflexes aren't as good as they used to be.
You know, now that I look at him again, he kind of looks like he has the star shape as a scar on his face for the Electro. Did you see that?
Yeah,
That I didn't really notice that before. To
He
me,
looked kind of messed up.
yeah, to me, Vulture looks kind of old school, like the old school Vulture.
Yeah.
I think part of the story is some of this technology was given to them by their benefactor, who's a mystery to us at this point.
Yeah, they kind of say that at the end, which we're not really sure.
Right. Some have talked about a rumor about it being Black Cat, of it being Norman Osborn. So.
And it really could be any of those. It could even be Kingpin. I mean, it could really be almost anyone. I wouldn't imagine that it would be. But considering how big the Spider-Verse really is, but I'm really impressed. Yeah, there are a lot of enemies to choose from, and I can't wait to see what Venom's gonna show up looking like. Is he gonna kind of take on the movie version, or are we gonna kind of see like a whole new iteration of him?
Right. Are we going to see him in this?
Oh, we've got to see him.
The real question is. It was a surprise to me here to see Negative Man, even. Yeah. He's kind of an obscure character.
I was kind of wondering about that. Like, when did he become popular in the Spider-Verse?
I think they just threw it in there.
Huh. Well, you know, now that Spider-Man's got the Homecoming movie and he's got another one coming out pretty soon. Actually, I think it might be next year after the... It's got to be after... the next Avengers. And I think I don't know if it's playing over again or if this is the demo, but I think this one might be the extended version with the demo afterwards. But I think with the Spider-Verse kind of becoming more popular, they're trying to get all the different characters in there from it because they're doing a spin-off. Didn't you mention something about that, Scott, that they're talking about another spin-off coming pretty soon? I think you said something, or it was in Slack, I think.
Spider-Man?
Yeah, something from the Spider-Verse.
They're going to do a movie about Silk. She's a female Spider-Man. Yeah, that was Susie put that up today.
Oh, thanks, Susie.
Silk is I think, Korean girl, and she was a clone of Peter Parker's DNA.
Interesting.
Another clone.
Do you think that we're going to see variants of Spider-Man? Like, I know that they're talking about new costumes for Spider-Man, and there have been a lot of costumes for Spider-Man, but do you think that we're also going to see like new variants, Spider-Gwen, possibly a Venom, maybe even a Carnage out there?
For this game?
For this game, yeah. Instead of just playing the regular Peter Parker, Ultimate Spider-Man, like all the different versions of Spider-Man, not just different suits, but actual full-on different characters. Or do you think we might see that?
Doing the Marvel Heroes Omega thing. Rest in peace.
Thank you. Yeah. Do you think that we're going to see that?
That would be cool.
But
I don't know if it, if the framework and the architecture of the game was set up to handle that, but I guess we'll find out.
Well, it might not be able to do that in the story specifically. Kiwi says that I like the achievements in game they showed on their podcast last week. So there's obviously going to be a lot of achievements.
Yeah, that one I missed. Yeah, that'd be cool. I like achievements too. I
kind of missed that one. So, what do you think about this Rhino, man? Like, he's
souped up.
He's all teched out. Like, yeah. I don't. my version of Rhino that I recall possibly the most is the whole gray onesie with the horns on top, you know.
This one here is kind of a little more leans toward all these Sinister Six guys kind of tend a little more to the Ultimate Spider-Man universe.
Okay.
Where they were reimagined a little bit.
Well, I mean,
more high tech.
They all look great, that's for sure. What I really also like seeing in the way that the combat plays is that Spider-Man in a lot of cases uses the environment. Like, he's kicking off of walls, you know, he's able to bounce around, and after he finishes these characters, he kind of throws he web slings up to the next level, and it's just really cool that everything detects all that, you know, like you're able to swing up to something that's on the next level, and it just gives that really iconic Spider-Man feel, you know?
Yeah, and there was another Insomniac session I caught, I think on the Twitch E3, where they showed actually the boss battle with the Shocker.
Oh man, I missed that one. So tell us a little bit about that. How did you actually fight him? Was it one of those situations where you're just kind of mashing buttons, or was it a situation where they have tells on like what you're supposed to do? I kind of remember.
I don't remember seeing the tells. I mean, it was basically in a one room, multi level, and they played the boss battle for quite a long time. So
it was a long fight.
3 to 5 minutes. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you remember the Batman Arkham games. I'm sure everyone kind of does because those were amazing games. But in situations like that, there were bosses where you had tells, like Bane would run at you or something, and then you'd have to dodge him at the right time, and he'd hit the wall, and then you're able to... I don't remember if you remove the venom from him or if you dose him with an extra dose of venom and he just gets more dangerous until he, hulks out and is pretty much a potato. But
right.
So you didn't notice anything like that where the combat was kind of focused around...
No, I just saw him jumping around a lot, webbing pieces of concrete and swirling those in the circle like he did here at the raft.
I really hope that we do see stuff like that, though.
Yeah.
Because and normally you see those kind of things in more adventure-focused games where it's not so much that you're trying to beat a boss just by sheer overpowering them. You kind of have to learn them like it's a puzzle almost,
Right, yeah.
It's a more quick-time event, less throwing punches.
Yeah. And that's, for me, that's kind of iconic Spider-Man too, because a lot of times it's not always that he's stronger than the villain, because he's always, and you see it in this final video where he's outmatched, he's outnumbered, and he's fighting them all. He's got to be smart about what he does, and that was kind of Spider-Man to me. He's not always the most powerful character in the room, but he always kind of thinks through things and tries to make the right decision on how to defeat them, right?
Well, right. even in those fights with the henchmen, there's you see some of the physicality of that where he runs through some of his punches.
Right.
I mean that just is beautiful to me to watch that, to watch how fluid that movement is, and you get the sense that he's not going to be the strongest and he's not the biggest, but he knows how to use his body to get through the fight the best that he can, or the smartest that he can.
Right. Well, we've got a question over here from Kiwi. She says that she knows so little about Negative Man. She's intrigued by him on the villain side. Scott, what can you tell us about Negative Man?
It sounds like that was a very positive comment, Kiwi. Gosh, that's so long ago. I don't remember a lot about him, actually. I when I first saw the white suit, the guy off the plane, I thought maybe it was Tombstone or something that's a little more modern.
Yeah,
but I'd have to look him up as well. He's not on the top of my head. Negative Man.
Well, it looks like I may not have put the gameplay video on here. It's just replaying the other one over and over again. So we're not going to keep running that one. And we're actually starting to run a little on the long side. We've got about 20 minutes left on the stream, but we do have some other stuff that we want to get into.
Yep.
So another game that's been announced recently on the Marvel end is Marvel Battle Lines. And I don't know if you guys heard anything about Marvel Battle Lines. Nobody's heard anything about it.
MOBA.
It's a mobile game that in the same vein as Strike Force and Puzzle Quest, and do we have any other ones out there? Yeah, I can't think of. Oh yeah, we have Future Fight, and oh man, there's so many mobile
Marvel Strike Force.
Yeah. So
Future
this is
Fight, Contest of Champions.
Yep, Contest of Champions is another one.
I think Marvel does a very good job on the game side as far as the mobiles and stuff compared to DC, where DC kind of dominates on the animation.
Yeah.
movie side.
Animated movie side, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, you haven't really seen a lot of Marvel animated movies hitting lately. I think the last one was several years ago. But Marvel Battle Lines, let's talk about it a little bit. So it's going to be, is it produced by Nexon? Let's see what so Marvel and Nexon have partnered to give Marvel Entertainment another shot at the mobile trading card game, and that's basically what it's going to be, is a trading card game. And they did have one before, didn't they? Was it on mobile, or was it just like a...
It was mobile.
Okay. Well, obviously
it was kind of cheesy, but it was a trading card game on mobile.
Define
kind of did some
cheesy.
battles.
Exactly. What does cheesy mean to you? Just awful?
Just the graphics weren't that great. It was kind of like it seemed like a hodgepodge game with very little thought compared to what we have nowadays on mobile.
Well, the first thing I'm going to say about what I'm looking at in terms of, this is the art that they have for Marvel Battle Lines so far, and it's very anime inspired. So what do you guys think about that? I mean, the characters look really good, at least.
The art looks really nice, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at it.
How are you going to go about collecting these cards? It will be the thing, you know. You're going to probably have to sink in some gold or...
Yeah, so are you guys playing any of the mobile Marvel games right now?
No. I'm not playing any mobile games right now, honestly.
I've dabbled in Future Fight, Marvel Strike Force, and Contest of Champions.
Ooh, and out of those, are there any that you're continuously playing?
Marvel Strike Force in and out. That's the newest one.
Yeah, that is the newest one. I couldn't really get into it. I hate it.
But I mean, it's the whole grind of trying to get the characters you want, and you know, and then Marvel Strike Force, like you get people like Hydra characters and Shield agents, but you're not getting the Hulk or whatever else. So.
Kiwi says Marvel Strike Force started this week. Maybe she can explain a little bit more about what she means by that. It's been out for a little while, but
yeah,
I played a game. I've been playing Marvel Puzzle Quest for probably about 2 years now, because it's a very simple game. It has nothing to do with candy and crushing it, which is kind of a big thing for me. And again, Marvel characters, but the thing is the grind is horrendous. I mean, it's taken me years and years and years. Well, not years and years. I've been playing for close to 2 years now, but it's taken me these 2 years to kind of get into a situation where I've got all the 3-star characters and they're all pretty much maxed out, which is pretty big. But then you've got the 4-star characters, the 5-star characters, and they're so tough to come across. And if you really want them, you got to spend a ton of money. And I love trading card games and I love puzzle games. So these 2 games are probably going to be more in my wheelhouse of what I continuously play until we get another Marvel Heroes inspired type of game. But I don't have the income to bankroll a trading card game if it's going to be as big of a grind as I'm thinking it's going to be. So, I mean, how bad do you guys think it's actually going to be?
I mean, if it's like any other trading card game, probably need to sink some money into it, which is why I got out of playing trading card games.
That's true. And
the art is spectacular, though.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Gamora, that was great.
I can say no to most trading card games, because even though the art's spectacular in most trading card games, and there's a lot of them out there, and I gotta say, some trading card games are actually a lot of fun, but this is a Marvel trading card game, so you're playing with heroes that mean something. If they do it right and they have decks geared around maybe an Avengers deck or even specialized hero decks, like a Wolverine deck where you've got several different abilities or cards based around Wolverine, and you really want to be that player who's like, I want to build a Wolverine deck, you're going to be probably spending a ton of money to get something very specialized, because it tugs on your heartstrings and it's one of those things that you really want to do. And I don't know. I mean, you can literally go into the hundreds to thousands of cards just going through the same characters over and over and over again with different variants, different covers, everything. I don't know, man. Like it's a good idea financially for them, but from a player perspective, I'm already kind of crying about it, you know?
Do you think it'll play like a Hearthstone game?
Well, I didn't really play Hearthstone that much. Anyone out there play Hearthstone that can really speak to it?
I played Hearthstone. You know, if it does play like Hearthstone, one of the things I like about that game is that you can earn cards without spending money. Mm-hmm. You can dust cards and use the resources from those cards to be able to craft the ones that you're looking for. Right. It might take you a little bit longer. It might take you a little bit longer to do it, but if it was built around a system like that, I can see that being a little less arduous to try to build the deck that you're looking for. That's always the gamble with the trading card game. Is even if you spend the money on it, there's no guarantee that you're going to get the cards that you want to get to be able to build the deck that you want to build.
Right. And I hate that. I absolutely hate it. But them's the breaks, so you kind of have to deal with it if you want to be part of that Marvel trading card game universe. So if you guys are out there, there's no release date currently on when Battle Lines is going to hit, but we're going to...
we need a superhero to kill RNG.
That's what Kiwi says, and I agree 100% with Kiwi on that one. If there's a RNG killing hero,
we had the death of Superman. Why can't we have the death of RNG?
That could be the death of monetization as well for most of these game companies out there. True. So we'll see how that goes whenever it finally releases, whenever that may be. And before we get into our final segment, we do have one more thing to take note of, and that is this week. Oh wait,
this week.
What? Dame had the finger going. Did you have?
No, it was just this week. What's going on this week?
Oh, this week. Well, this week, actually, last night, this morning, however you want to look at it, Luke Cage, Netflix, released, and we've got the trailer here real quick. But what do you guys think? I mean, Luke Cage Season 2, high hopes for it?
I never saw Season 1, so...
Well, that's true.
I heard great things about it.
It's one of my... I mean, out of all of the Netflix shows, I can't really say that it's on the top of my list as a favorite. I watch all of them. But I got to tell you, and right now Scott's in the middle of Jessica Jones Season 2. And what episode are you on right now?
Only 3.
Only 3. So you guys are behind, lightweights. But what do you think of it so far?
Jessica Jones? I think it's good. I like it. You know, it's dark. It's she's always pissed off a little bit. Got that emo thing going on, but it's cool. And they're looking at her origin story at this point and how she got her powers. So it's kind of cool.
You do love a good origin story. That's the truth. But
Luke Cage is the hero who doesn't think he's a hero, and I think that's part of the tagline of the show, isn't it? You know, you call me a hero, I'm not a hero, or something.
Yeah, which is kind of interesting in that respect, because I'm not going to get too far into it. So I've got about 5 episodes left to finish Season 2. And you see in the trailer here the big bad villain. Did you you saw Season 1 though, right, Scott?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Okay. So at the end of it, you've got the whole Mariah Dillard thing,
right? Yep.
And that's supposed to be like the big bad. And Dame, this is full of moderate spoilers for you, so congratulations. But in the second season, the big bad here is Bushmaster. Do you know anything about Bushmaster from the comics, Scott?
Nah, not that much. I didn't read a lot of Luke Cage back in the day.
And
when it was Hero for Hire.
Heroes for Hire was one of the comics that I was really into, because I really liked Iron Fist going back in the day, and man, they butchered Iron Fist so bad in the first season and kind of in the Defenders as well. So I'm not really sure if we're going to see him. I don't know. I guess that's kind of a spoiler a little bit, right? Like, if I don't know if we're gonna see him, and I only have 5 episodes left, so don't count your chickens in the first 7, 8 episodes of seeing Iron Fist in there. But I'm really interested to see if he's gonna show up, because the big thing that I want, and they're kind of alluding a little bit too, that maybe having Iron Fist by himself isn't such a great idea with the way that he was perceived in the Defenders. You watched the Defenders too, Scott, right?
Yep, I watched it, yeah.
So what did you think of... Did you watch Iron Fist the first season?
Yeah, I did too, yeah.
Okay.
I sat through that one. It just doesn't portray, Iron Fist, like the superhero he's supposed to be. He seemed kind of wimpy, and how many times did he say, I am Iron Fist, I am Iron Fist?
Yeah, I mean, he really wants people to know that. And I think that's a little out of character. But the thing that was most out of character for me, and this has happened in a few characters, a few comics, but just mildly. But in the show, like, Danny Rand loses control so many times, where he just kind of like is flying off the handle. And that's not Iron Fist to me. He's supposed to be like a calming presence. He's supposed to, I mean, and so I don't know how they got away with doing that. I mean, what were they thinking in that situation? So
not a whole lot.
And then there's the whole Misty and Colleen Wing thing, because in the comics they're like best friends and they start their own agency. And
right.
I wonder if we're going to ever see more of that going on.
Well, I'm not going to spoil anything like that.
Okay, thanks.
I'm not. It's just saying that you might think that it's a spoiler. It's really not, because there's a lot that happens, and it gets kind of convoluted and confusing. But Dame, give us kind of a roundabout here about these characters that we're talking about, because you haven't seen the shows, but are you familiar at least more so with the characters that we're going on about?
Yeah, I have a entry level understanding of who they are and where they've come from, and a little bit of a cursory knowledge of their.
He's the guy right behind Steven's left shoulder there. See, that's Luke Cage.
Oh yeah,
okay. I know who Luke Cage is.
I know.
Luke Cage. You know what I also think is pretty interesting in this show is, and I mean, again, not giving away too many spoilers, but if you did watch The Defenders, you know that Matt Murdock, for the most part, has gone missing, presumed dead by the greater universe at large, but we all know that he's still alive. So that's kind of a big thing, is to see how that plays in. And I am going to give a small spoiler about the show, and it's not really a big spoiler if you've been following kind of the way that Luke Cage has been going, but Foggy returns in Luke Cage season 2. And I gotta say, I love that guy so much. Like, he is by far one of my favorite characters. Just throughout every show that he's been in, between Daredevil and Luke Cage and Jessica Jones. I mean, he's just a very, very likable character, and I love seeing him coming back. So, I mean, what do you guys think? Well, obviously, Dame, you don't think anything, but I
don't have an opinion.
We're gonna get you caught up. But Scott, what do you think?
I'm not a big Foggy fan, but the actor and the way they portray him in the shows is better than, I guess, the comic. But
explain a little bit about that, at least.
He always seemed to be. I don't know. I guess they are in line. He's kind of the jokester comedian in both the comics and in the TV show.
Yeah, of course, kind of comic relief.
In the current comic, they had to fake his death, of course, to protect him. But
I did not know that. So that's what's going on currently. But another quick question that you may know, since you've seen The Defenders, is the Defenders storyline something that that's actually happened in the comics? Where
no, not this incarnation of Defenders. Actually, Jessica Jones wasn't even that big in a lot of the comics in Marvel. She was more of a side character.
Well, the Defenders of now isn't really the Defenders at all.
Right.
Like, the original Defenders, I mean,
Yeah, that was only 6 episodes, I believe, that show, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was
Netflix show, yeah.
But they couldn't do the original Defenders, which
right would be Silver Surfer.
Silver
Hulk,
Surfer was definitely in there.
Namor, Doctor Strange.
Yeah, now that would have been an awesome Defenders show.
Yeah.
But I have mixed feelings about that because I've read some of the original Defenders comics, and there was one even more recently that I think they tried to reboot it maybe about 10 years ago, 5-10 years ago, and they brought Iron Fist into the mix of that one.
Right.
But I just always thought that it was really weird because the power disparities between these characters, and whenever they kind of brought Iron Fist into it, I mean, it's like God level compared to like street level.
Like,
almost,
I can fight good. Well, it's almost like having Hawkeye next to the Avengers, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and then on the DC side, I mean, you always got Batman and the rest of the Justice League, which Batman and Green Arrow in comparison to like Superman and Wonder Woman and even the Flash. I mean, and even the Flash. So you'll always have those, even though that they always seem to portray Batman as like the most powerful of them all. Have you noticed that always kind of happens? Like, even though Superman's like the most powerful, they always kind of portray Batman as being like the strategist. Like, he always has like the plan. He can always beat anyone magically, even though it's not really magic. But wasn't there something, and maybe Scott can correct me on this, but wasn't there something in one of the comic lines? I'm wanting to say it was Injustice, where Batman basically says that he keeps a dossier on everyone, including the Justice League. So if anything like this ever happened, that he was ready for it. Yeah.
That blew up in the comic line. That became a big secret that was unleashed to the Justice League, and then they lost faith in him, and blah blah blah. Like, he always had a thing of kryptonite hidden away in case Superman went rogue. He had some way to stop him. Yep. That's
pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, and that is, I've seen some of the cartoons as well where they kind of portrayed Batman as having a contingency for everyone. Kiwi over here says Hawkeye is the best. I do not agree with that. But she says that she only likes Batman because he has Alfred, and Alfred is the real superhero. And you know what's really interesting about that? There's been a lot of different variations of an Alfred, where he's kind of had, in some situations, or in some versions of him, hasn't he kind of had a secret life almost? Like he was in
Secret Service or whatever they call it.
Something like that. I don't know exactly. Has there ever been like a big storyline following Alfred and his exploits of, and I know like in the Gotham show, Alfred's like he's like a brawler, man. Like he's knocking people out and knowing how to fight and all this kind of crazy stuff. Like, and that show's supposed to end, I think, this next season, right?
Yeah, it's the last season. Yeah.
Thank goodness.
And that's what it was slated to be. So we're assuming at the end we're going to probably get to see Bruce Wayne as some form of Batman, maybe. Who knows?
Ugh, that little kid. Have you kept up with that one, Dave?
Lad?
Yeah.
I watched part of the first season of Gotham and didn't stick with it.
I don't blame you, man. That was I couldn't stick with it. I mean, not just that they just butchered all of the characters to kind of fit into, and I think, like, even in the latest season, have you kept up with it at all, Scott?
Yeah, I watch everything superhero related.
Yeah, okay.
Whether it's good or bad.
Kiwi loves Gotham, and we're not going to hold that against her. But
yeah, they've really did it injustice to the characters in that show.
Yeah, what's going on? They said something along the lines of they have the guy who's supposed to be the Joker, but he's not the Joker, kind of a thing.
Well, as like the grandfather of the Joker or great grandfather of the Joker or something like that.
That doesn't even make any sense, but
yeah,
whatever that case is, man. I remember whenever he first showed up, I guess the guy who they had, and I thought that he would have played a pretty good Joker overall, but oh man, they just butchered the whole continuity about like when the characters showed up, how they showed up. I'm just really surprised.
Yeah.
I wanted to follow it through and I just couldn't. And the whole situation where they brought in like Fish Mooney and like how that carried through. Ugh, that was disgusting to me. I couldn't stand seeing her just come back and all that. I was like, ugh. Anyway, we're kind of getting off topic here, and the that brings us into our final segment, which is what we've got going on this week. And Scott, what do you have going on this week?
As far as games, or
as far as everything, what are you into? What are you watching? What are you playing?
Watching. I still have a couple of episodes from that last season of Gotham to watch off demand. I just got through Supergirl.
Ooh.
In comics, I'm reading more DC than Marvel nowadays because DC seems to have the artists and writers that are my favorites, like Scott Snyder, Jim Lee, Jason Fabok is an artist that I like. And I'm way behind in the Rebirth, but I'm reading right now the Justice League versus the Suicide Squad. So
awesome. Yep. That's...
And game-wise, DCUO, our favorite friend Bless. So, which by the way, in Bless I created a Pantera, and I called him McCoy after Hank McCoy.
Nice. So. And and so what server are you playing on?
The Tenaro, the first one.
Okay.
The Tenaro.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay. Excellent. Well,
but of course, they announced today they're going to do server merges by the end of July.
Yeah. Well, they definitely should do that.
Yep.
So, do you have any reviews going on that people can see? No,
I had 3 last week. I ruled GameSpace.com, so I had 3 that were posted last week. Now I got to catch my breath.
Well, what did you play, and where can people find you?
Origami, which is kind of like a comic anime type stealth game where you're a ninja.
Ooh, that sounds cool.
So that was cool. There was some beautiful art in that. I reviewed the Iron Maiden mobile game. I'm a big metal fan. And Legend of K Anniversary, which wasn't too good.
Nah. What and where can everyone find you? Do you have
on Twitter, I'm Scott Justless. It's one word, SCOTTJESLIS, and that's about it.
Okay. Well, so you're nowhere else. You're hidden everywhere else.
Well, I have Facebook, and I got stuff that's associated with my my metal station. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. You also do that. Yep. Do you want to plug anything about that?
No, we're just an online streaming classic heavy metal station out of Oslo, Norway. We're based out of, and you can find us at www.metalexpressradio.com. We're free. We don't charge. You can hear metal 24/7. Very little talk. You can hear Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, all those guys.
Just hard stuff.
Yep.
That's what you got. Dame, roll the level. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about what you got going on.
Yeah, so on the personal side, roll the level. We actually just recorded our E3 episode last week as well, and that just went live. So we lean the conversation a little bit more towards the video game thing, and actually the episode before that, we got a chance to get to know one of our co-hosts, Sarah, a little bit more. She shared her story about being a video gamer that's blind. So it's really kind of an interesting story of her journey of awesome. of discovering, all that and how that's impacted life and whatnot. But roll the level. It's a running conversation about life, God, video games in no particular order. And so we've got episodes coming out every week, and we're coming down to the end of our 4th season.
Whoa!
Yeah. So when I say seasons, I mean like about a 12 to 13 block of episodes. We've kind of set.
It's better than most TV shows.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's how we've kind of tailored it to that. So actually, at the end of the season, I'll be taking a vacation, so it's kind of convenient. So
nice.
Which is great. But we've got some great conversations over there, and some things that I'm not quite ready to announce just yet that are in the works with that. But you can follow us online. You can follow us online at Roll the Level on Twitter. We're on Facebook as well. We also have live streams that are going on every week. Wednesday nights is kind of the Adventures of the Light Brigade. We've got a crew of us that are leveling paladins in World of Warcraft, preparing for Battle for Azeroth. I should say that I left my paladin behind because I wasn't available on Wednesday nights to level with the rest of them. So nice. I'm playing a warrior now. But it's two paladins and a warrior. But anyway, so we've got that stuff going on, and there's actually a schedule on there too of when Matt and Sarah are actively streaming as well. I'm still trying to find a time when I can do that too. But as for me personally, you can follow me at Pastor Dame. And find my stuff there. As far as stuff that I've got coming out on GameSpace and MMO this week, I just reviewed a couple of desktop peripherals for Enhance Gaming. Mm-hmm. Enhance is kind of an interesting company. They're kind of focused on the budget gamer and kind of getting into like the collegiate esports and stuff like that. And so I was able to review their extra large desk mat with armrest and a mouse bungee, which I didn't even know what the heck a mouse bungee was before I.
But you know now.
But I know now.
Wow.
And I'm, like I said before about the artwork on the Marvel cards, I'm not mad at it. So it's a handy little device with a small footprint on my desk. So nothing wrong with that. Got a review that's going to be coming out soon for a game called Gray Dawn. Really interesting psychological thriller with religious theming. Kind of within my wheelhouse, I guess, as the resident pastor and gamer. So really some kind of interesting stuff. A little bit of a heavier game thematically, deals a lot with demonic oppression and possession and this priest's journey to kind of figure out what's going on in his village and discover what happened to a missing altar boy.
That does sound like your wheelhouse. That sounds cool.
So just a little bit. So got that coming out. So that's pretty much what I have going on.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to be interested to read what you have to say about that one. And for us, me, this week I do have a Mushroom Wars 2.
Mushroom Wars 2.
Yeah. So that's.
I didn't even know there's a first Mushroom War.
Well, a lot of us aren't really into mushroom culture, so I don't blame you for not knowing. But apparently they've been having wars lately. I don't know why mushrooms would fight each other. I'm not sure where they're fighting each other. It could be on a pizza. It could be anywhere. I haven't gotten started on it yet, so I will have something on it. It's going to be a Switch review. So Mushroom Wars 2, look out for that one. We are...
I always look out for mushrooms.
Do you always look out for mushrooms? You never know.
Out.
You can play that while you're watching Cloak and Dagger, Steven.
Oh, you know what? I forgot about Cloak and Dagger. We didn't even talk about Cloak and Dagger.
Yeah, but it's nothing to talk about right now.
Kiwi's talking about pineapple on pizza, which actually sounds really good right now. She's making me hungry. I haven't eaten yet, so.
Oh man.
But aside from that, we do have some interesting shows coming up for you next week. I don't really know what we're going to be talking about, but we do have a show with the Rift developers coming up pretty soon, and we're going to try and get Kiwi on that show. Kiwi, if you're out there and you're hearing us, we want you on the show. Come. This is my magic. I'm trying to coerce you into joining that show because we would like you there, since you are knowing of all things Rift. And we do have some other developers. I know that we're going to try and get the Visionary Realms guys back on because they've released a lot of information since they were last on our show and more. So if you are interested in MMOs, if you're interested in regular games and games of all types, and just coming out and chatting with us, don't forget to tune in every Friday night at 9 p.m. Central. I know we were a little late today, but 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern.
Give or take a few minutes.
Yeah, it just depends on what we've got going on. We had a lot to prepare for, and I just came off of vacation. So if you're looking for last week's podcast, which was a really big podcast about E3, and it's not there yet, give it until Sunday because I didn't get around to it. But I will get around to it this week. But apart from that, is there anything else you guys want to give a shout out to before we say good evening?
Not by me.
All right. Well, I do want to give a shout out to everybody who watched tonight and everyone out there in podcast land because we love you guys, and we will see you next week. Thanks for tuning in.
See you guys.
Bye, everyone.
Take care.